Hi, this is Colleen McGee welcoming you to episode number 123 of Fort Riley, the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're talking about Energy Action Awareness Month. The theme for this month is Energy Resilience, Sustain the Mission, Secure the Force.
Michael Kerr. I am the branch chief for Utilities and Energy with Public Works.
So talk to me about October being Energy Awareness Month. What are we trying to get people to think about?
Yeah, so every year the Army designates October as Energy Awareness Month. We want people to think about how they use energy, how they conserve energy, and how we can use it in a better manner.
So, and all of this contributes, especially here on Fort Riley, it contributes to how we are able to continue our mission.
Absolutely. We work in a couple of different ways in the energy branch. The first of which is to make sure we have continuing energy for the soldiers to train, and then also working to keep those energy costs low. And that's our energy conservation. And that is one of the things that we really try and focus on during Energy Action Month, is to get out there and talk to our families, talk to our soldiers, talk to our civilians about how they can conserve energy so that we can use some of those dollars and we can maneuver them in other ways to provide other things for the families, for the soldiers, and to help them train better.
So I understand that you're going to be out at a couple of different locations throughout the month.
So we'll have at least one day at each the commissary and the PX, and then I think we have 2 days set up at the library. And there we're going to have tips on energy conservation, a little bit of information for families, for kids on how they can conserve energy, where they can conserve energy, and what it means, and what does that involve? What can the kids do, to help conserve energy? Turning the lights off in their bedroom when they're not in their bedroom, turning their video game systems off when they're not playing them, turning the TV off, and using less water, turning the water faucet off when they're brushing their teeth.
Energy Awareness Month comes at the perfect time of year when we're transitioning our environmental systems, heat and cooling and all of that kind of stuff. Is there anything, about the time of year that would be useful for folks?
I think just thinking about the differences between summer and winter. Summertime, we tend to think about the heat of the sun, and so we pull our blinds down so the sunlight coming in the windows doesn't make your room incredibly hot. But in the winter, we can actually take advantage of the sun. During the day, we can open the blinds and let the heat in from the sun. We can let the light in a little more too. And that allows us to be able to maybe turn off our overhead lights and use the natural daylighting to help us conserve the energy. So kind of thinking about those different times of the year. Also thinking about, how do we, what can we do to stop the cold from coming into our buildings? Whether that's, kind of sealing the cracks, making sure the doors are shut, maybe the little draft stops at the bottom of your door if there's a small crack. Then even thinking about rooms that you don't use in your house. Maybe you can close them off, shut the vents to them. We obviously don't want them to get too cold and freeze, but if they're not being used, we can maybe not condition them quite as much. Thinking about setting our thermostats. We're going to change our thermostats from heating to cooling. So it's a good time to think about what set point do we want to use in the winter. We probably don't need to keep our houses, at 78 degrees in the winter. So we can probably set those down closer to 70 degrees, Look at that thermostat. If you have the programmable thermostat, go ahead and set it so that when you're gone during the day, you can set that temperature back, or set it overnight maybe. When nobody's awake, you can set that temperature back a little bit and get some energy savings then. Thinking about phantom energy or ghost energy is probably a good one. Any time of the year, it's a good one. And that phantom energy or that ghost energy is the energy that our electronics and other things use when they're not being used. So things like computer monitors, making sure that you have the appropriate sleep settings so that when you kind of walk away from the computer monitors, most of us don't think about actually turning them off when we're done using them. But, I get up and go to a meeting and having that computer setting set so that monitor will shut off and, 5 minutes and not use as much energy while it's not there. Unplugging things that are seldomly used. Paper shredders are a good one. I might use my paper shredder in my office, 5 minutes every 2 weeks. But if it's got a little LED light on it that's glowing, that says it's on and ready to be used, then it's still using energy. So working with those things, video game consoles, having power strips on those that make it very simple to just flip the flat power switch and shut the power off to all of it so it's not continually drawing that energy. Being cognizant when you buy new electronics, does it have that little glowing light that says it's on or it's off? Most of us can probably tell if the TV's on or off anyway, right? Do I need a glowing light? If you're buying a new microwave, do you need a clock in the microwave? I have 3 clocks in my kitchen, one in the stove, one in the microwave, and one on the radio, If you have the option not to have a clock on a new electronics and you don't need it, then do that. It's more energy cost effective, throughout the life of that appliance. Buying Energy Star rated appliances if they're buying them. And that's not just refrigerators and ranges, but everything down to our computers, and all those components to make sure that we are buying the most cost effective and up to date, not buying bigger than what you actually need, because it still takes more, the bigger you have it, the more energy it's still going to take.
Thank you for listening to Fort Riley, the podcast.